Hi, Facebook. What's up? Instagram. Happy Feeling Fab Friday. My name is Amanda Lee, and I am a health, happiness, and minerals balancing coach, hormone coach, that helps women feel at home in their bodies through mineral balance, hormonal balance, and emotional freedom. I had to add the minerals in there because, sorry, my webcam is a little dirty there. Because my knowledge and training in minerals that I have been doing is changing my practice and it's changing my life. And I'm here today to tell you about that. So if any of you follow me on Instagram, you know I've been posting a lot about minerals lately and what they do in the body and how important they are to be balanced and how it affects literally everything else that's going on with you. So first of all, I just want to say that this information is really important. And I know that some of you may have been on a health journey for a long time. You've tried a lot of stuff and you're just like up to here with being over it. And I get that. But I just want you to hang in with me here with one more thing, because this really matters. It affects what your hormones are doing. If you don't have the proper minerals in your body, you can't make certain hormones, okay? If you have excess minerals like copper, they can actually drive up those estrogen levels. If you have certain susceptibility to gut infections through lack of minerals, you're gonna be more susceptible to those gut infections. Same thing, if you have gut infections, you're more susceptible to not absorbing those minerals. Metals. Okay, these are serious, and when they're in your system through the water you're drinking, through things you're injecting in your body, I can't talk about this on Instagram, but I mean on Facebook, but there's a serious movement happening right now to take away your freedom to choose what you get injected in your body. The metals that are accumulating in our body are not being detoxified properly. They're building up, they're causing issues with mental health, they're causing major sickness in your body, and we need to know about it, okay? So balancing minerals, allowing your body to be able to detox properly and safely. Okay, a lot of us do these detox programs and we jump into these big supplement protocols and our bodies aren't able to handle it. They're not ready to dump the crap, and our adrenal function is down, our thyroid function is down. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm really excited about this, and you need to know. First of all, the other thing I want to say, if you are a silent stalker of mine, I invite you to not be a silent stalker today and to comment. If you're watching on Facebook, please comment. The more that it comments, the more Facebook likes me. And even be willing to share this video. On Instagram, the same thing. Tag a friend, send it to a friend, tag them on my Instagram posts, comment, and be generous. Okay, because silent stalking and just watching and taking my information is a very kind of selfish mode to be in. We need to be in a giving mode. I want to give you this free information to help you, and I want to spread it to as many people as possible. So do me a favor, like and share wherever you are, and just let's get this information out, okay? So we're gonna start. This is gonna be a pretty long Feeling Fab Friday. I'm gonna try to go as fast as possible. But what is hair mineral testing? What is it? It is a hair sample used to evaluate mineral content of the body. And it is a window into the cell's activity. So the difference between blood work and minerals are multifaceted. For one, a lot of minerals are intercellular. Like 99% of it is in the cell. So when you see whatever levels are in the blood, it's not enough to determine what is going on at a cellular level. So we need to see the hair, because the hair shows us an average of over 3 to 4 months of mineral activity and even metals. It takes about 30 days for metals to get into the hair. So if we see high levels of metals on your hair minerals test, we know you've been exposed to them for a long time. Okay, so minerals are the spark plugs of the body. They are needed for all the million interactions your body does with enzymes, and it facilitates cofactors and inhibitors and all those things, and their availability and usability has a great deal to do with your health. Like a massive deal to do with your health, your energy, etc. Mineral testing has been around for a long time. It was developed 75 years ago. This is one of our oldest forms of testing and one of the most reliable. It is the standard for how to test for minerals. And this has been going on since the 70s. And the main lab, there are some labs that are not accurate. They don't do it properly. They wash the hair. They don't do all those things properly. And I like to stick with the original labs that came up with hair mineral analysis. So I use TEI, which is Trace Elements Inc., or Analytical Research Labs, and I really just do TEI solely within my practice. These are the two most reputable brands or labs who do the proper amount of testing. So people will start to wash the samples, and a lot of other labs are not reputable, and it's really important to understand that. The other thing is, hair mineral analysis is only as accurate as the practitioner reading it. And there's a lot of misinformation there in minerals, and you cannot look at a hair minerals test and just read it as is. Like, oh, your copper's high, you must just have high copper, or your zinc is high, you've got tons of zinc. It can actually be what's being lost in the body. So it's important to understand ratios. It's important to understand the whole picture of what your body is doing and working with someone who really knows their shit, okay? And I've been trained by the best of the best, and I'm very confident that I know my shit about this. So it's really important that you get that. Also, you need to understand that all commercial hair testing laboratories in the USA are licensed and inspected annually by the federal government as part of the CLIA Act. So this isn't just a fluke. They're checking out, they're making sure that it is legit, okay? So if you have more questions about the legitimacy, I can answer that, but we're gonna kind of move on to what it is. So when you collect it, you're gonna do from the scalp, the base of the neck, the back of the scalp is the best part, and you're gonna snip it as close to the scalp as possible. If you don't have a lot of hair like I do, you can use pubic hair, you can use armpit hair. Those are not gonna be as reliable. They're gonna show the levels really high because it's a shorter, like the hair grows so fast, it's a shorter amount of time to look at. So if you can get scalp hair, that's awesome. And we want to make sure that we don't use any shampoos that contain zinc oxide or selenium. Those would be like your dandruff shampoos 3 weeks before collecting. The hair needs to be 1.5 inches long. And the test kit comes, I can't believe I don't have this out. The test kit comes with, hold on. The test kit comes with a little scale inside of it. And the scale allows you to be able to you just fold these little tabs up, and it makes it into a little scale that you can put on your counter, and you're just gonna keep adding the hair until the scale falls. It can seem kind of intimidating, and you're like, holy cow, this is like a lot of hair. But I promise you it's gonna be worth it. You cannot use treated color bleached hair as your sample. We need to wait for about 6 to 8 weeks after color treatment before you can test. So those are kind of the deals with that. Some of you have questions of whether or not you can work with me if you're international or if you live in the state of New York, which doesn't allow these type of samples to be collected. All you have to do is send your sample back to me, and I will send it into the lab myself from my address here in California. And it doesn't go bad, so you don't have to worry about that if you're shipping it to me from Australia. I had someone ask about that. Okay, so it's really important to understand, you know, what's going on, what it is interpreting. So there's many different aspects. I can't show you a test right now while we're on this live, but I'm gonna do a master class about this. But basically, when you get your test results back, it'll have a bunch of things on it, and the first 4 minerals are the most important. Those are the major macro minerals, if you would say. Those are calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. And before we worried about everything else going on in the body, these are the minerals that we want to be really focused on. So what are the roles of these minerals? So calcium, it is 99% of it is supposed to be in your bones, in your teeth. It controls the nervous system. It affects muscle contractions. It helps maintain the pH level of the body. It reduces lactic acid buildup. It inhibits thyroid hormone. It helps secrete insulin. And it's really important to have this at an optimum level. Now, I'll see people who have low calcium, which is affecting their nervous system and their calming mineral. And I see people with excess calcium, which is something I had, also known as the calcium shell, which really can cause a problem because it starts taking the calcium from the bone and the teeth and letting it kind of free flow around the body and cause depositories on the body and start to be excreted in the hair. And so you can have premature gray happen from that. Calcium is that mineral that really slows people down. So a lot of older people will have a lot of calcium. It starts to slow down your metabolism of your body, your thyroid, etc., and it starts to slow down your body. Your bones become more brittle. And we don't want that when we're in our younger years. Okay, we want calcium to stay in the bone So we need to address that. If it is low, this is also really important for people called fast oxidizers who burn through their calcium and magnesium quickly. I'll talk about them in a minute. The role of magnesium. I know lots of you may have some knowledge about magnesium. It's one of the minerals talked about a lot, but what you may not understand is how it interacts with every other mineral and how it's important to supplement with the right type of magnesium. So magnesium is needed for 500 different enzyme reactions. It regulates your sugar metabolism. It's involved in your energy production. It causes relaxation of the muscle. It's intercellular. 99% of it is in the cell. You cannot see proper magnesium levels through a blood test. It reduces inflammation, and it really affects your heart. That's my dryer. It really affects your heart. Thank you, dryer. So if you have really low levels of magnesium, you can be more susceptible to heart attack. This also happens with fast oxidizers who are burning through their magnesium, or people who have copper toxicity who burn through magnesium in insane rates. So you can find yourself with more heart palpitations, anxiety, that type of stuff without a lot of magnesium. Okay. Sodium. Sodium is one of the body's great solvents, so it kind of dissolves things. It is primary for alkalization of the body. It's regulated by the adrenal glands. So whether your adrenals are being able to produce aldosterone or not is going to determine what's going on with your sodium levels. It regulates your blood pressure. It helps your fluid balance. It influences your stomach acid majorly. So a lot of my clients come to me with really low stomach acid, issues with H. pylori, etc. This has to do with sodium in the body. It influences cell membrane permeability. So sodium is one of those ones we really need to have good levels of. So for my slow oxidizers, which I'm going to tell you about in a second, they burn through sodium and potassium really fast, and it really affects their body's ability to dissolve that calcium and magnesium and use it properly. And that's where it will be excreted in the hair and moved from the bone if it's not used properly. Potassium. Potassium is a solvent just like calcium is. It's intercellular as well. 99% of it is in the hair, in the cell, can't be determined by blood work. If you have high levels of potassium in the blood, that is a sign that you are losing it. So something to pay attention to. It regulates blood pressure along with sodium. It influences the thyroid hormone. It helps sensitize the thyroid. So if you have thyroid issues, you probably have issues with potassium. Okay, so instead of using thyroid meds and all this stuff, we need to address the minerals first and get your metabolism up to where it's supposed to be, and helps the thyroid. So that's the role of potassium. And we're going to talk about the oxidation rate, and this is the rate at which the speed of your metabolism is at. So when I get your test back, I can see if you're either a slow or a fast, and there's multiple levels of slow and fast. But slow metabolite, so slow slow oxidation, we always want to balance. So for slow oxidizers, we want to get them sped up and moving through and using their minerals better and boosting their metabolism. And with fast oxidizers, we want to get them to slow down. So we want to balance. So slow oxidation is going to look like really slow adrenal and thyroid activity. They're not going to be producing aldosterone. It's going to really affect their adrenals and their sodium levels. They have a really poor retention of sodium and potassium. They just get it out of the body. And those are two of the hardest minerals to raise. We really like potassium especially. And calcium and magnesium can't dissolve and precipitate out of the cell. So it's really important that we make sure that we are really slowing or speeding up this oxidation, allowing them to burn through that calcium and magnesium, because when we have those high levels, it can make us just really tired and have that calcium and magnesium build up in the soft tissue from your hair, give you extreme aches and pains in your bones, headaches, all that kind of stuff can happen. So some of the symptoms of slow oxidation would be fatigue, sugar cravings, low blood sugar, apathy, depression, constipation, thyroid issues, dry skin, brain fog, joint pain, weight in the hips and the thighs, that lower region of the body, type 2 insomnia, which is the type where you can fall asleep fine, but you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep, postural hypertension, cold sensitivity, social withdrawal, suicidal thoughts, negative thoughts, a really poor ability to sweat, low blood pressure, and osteoporosis or osteoarthritis, okay? So some things I've already said that are associated with that slow oxidation would be premature gray hair, or even things like fibromyalgia. Okay, so Trace Elements did a study of 2,000 individuals with fibromyalgia and find that 81% of them were in parasympathetic dominance or slow oxidizers. So this is important to help relieve some of these symptoms. Melody, I got your hair test back so we can set up our consult to go over them, sweetheart. I just saw you commented. The causes of slow oxidation: chronic emotional stress. Okay, so the calcium shell can be built because of protection, right? When you're in a fight or flight mode, or you're in that chronic stress, calcium, high levels of it, will actually make you, I'm sorry, I think that's gonna keep going off. Hold on one second. It can actually really numb your emotions. So if you're in a trauma state where you're under a lot of trauma, your body will just do this to protect you and kind of make you just have this protection. But it raises those calcium levels up really high, and it causes that calcium shell for emotional protection. So this is why it's so important to work with someone like me who does inner work, that does emotional work to kind of combat that trauma, or even doing some EMDR, any sort of that releasing that's going to happen, that's going to help remove the shell from that perspective, because we need to address it at a mineral level, but we need to address it as emotional level too. The other reasons for slow oxidation would be really poor diet and lifestyle, using prescription drugs. You know, certain prescription drugs can cause that to happen. Using the wrong kind of nutrition supplements, or too many. Having a lot of toxic metals and environmental chemicals in the body, and the body just slows that metabolism down. So think again, the things that you're injecting in your body, the water that you're drinking. This is a huge factor we'll talk about in a minute. Copper toxicity. If you've ever used birth control in your life, you have probably a 97% chance of having copper toxicity. Okay, and the copper can get built up in the body, so it doesn't matter if you left the birth control pill 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it can still be storing in your system. You're not able to dump it because your metabolism isn't fast enough or able enough to do that. Iodine deficiency, another issue for slow oxidation. And chronic infections, continuing to be sick. So this is where pairing the hair mineral test with the GI map is probably my best line of defense for my clients, to really see if there's chronic gut infections, and how we can improve both the oxidation level and the gut's permeability, and not being able to be sick. So it's really important that you work with someone that understands the rate of oxidation and your ability to detox, because a slow oxidizer cannot do aggressive detox. They're gonna feel like crap. And this is just really important that we support the minerals and get the metabolism up before we start trying to dump copper and some of these other things, or even metals, because the body just won't be able to handle it. So fast oxidation, which is the opposite, is really fast thyroid and adrenal activity. Okay, so these are your people who are talking really fast, moving around, they always have to be doing something. They can have more anxiety, they can have more anger or reactivity. They have a higher production of that aldosterone in their adrenals, and they excessively retain sodium and potassium. Okay, and that sodium level being really high, with the calcium, magnesium being really low, because they're burning through it, gives them more of that irritability and reaction. So sometimes mamas and women watching, this isn't just your hormones, or it isn't just that you are a bad mother. It literally is your minerals that aren't being there for your body. So we need to kind of address this. That calcium, magnesium are burned through super fast. And again, these are the people who are going to be at risk for a heart attack because of the low levels of magnesium in their body. So some of the symptoms of fast oxidizers are going to be anxiety, that type A personality, really wired, irritable, aggressive, loose stools, oily skin and hair, a really racing mind, high blood pressure, belly fat because of that cortisol level. That's where they're going to store their fat more. High blood sugar, short-tempered, violent tendencies. So they did a lot of studies with people who are very violent, like and they had really the fast oxidation rate, water retention, sweats more easily, sweating all the time, panic attacks, wound up, emotionally really sensitive, again, osteoporosis and osteoarthritis, again, because of the calcium and magnesium. So you can see it's different. For the slow oxidizers, they're at risk for that, but it's because the calcium is leaving the bones and being free flowing around the body, depositing where it shouldn't. And for the fast oxidizers, because they're burning through it so fast. So fast oxidations conditions would be ADD, ADHD, and this is often seen in children. Okay, so you can do hair mineral testing on children, which is awesome, and see what's going on with their minerals. And most children who have behavior issues have issues going on at this level with their minerals, and we can treat them really easily because kids respond really well to mineral programs. So this is exciting for if you're a mom and you have a difficult child or you have stuff going on. Let's look at their minerals and see how we can support them. And again, I did say the heart attacks because of that magnesium. So some of the causes of this fast oxidation burn rate are going to be things like the stage of life you're in, dietary factors, prescription drugs again, pesticides are huge, having those toxic metals in the body, and again, that chronic emotional stress. So you could do detox a little sooner with a fast oxidizer, but if they're too fast, they can have similar detox issues as a slow. There's different kinds of fast. There's one called the Fast 4 that is more like a slow oxidizer in their treatment. So again, this is really important to be working with someone who knows what they're doing. So some strategies for everybody, no matter what metabolism you have, a fast or a slow, is going to be eating organic whenever possible because of the amount of pesticides and the things that can be in those vegetables. Eating 3 to 4 cups of cooked veggies per day. And I say cooked because the minerals are more bioavailable that way than when you're eating raw because of the fiber. So you need to be eating them when they're that bright, crisp look. That's going to improve things a lot for you no matter what oxidation you are. Fermented foods are always a good idea. And bone and veggie broth. I have a potassium broth recipe. If you come back with that low potassium, because again, potassium is one of the hardest ones to raise. If we're not, we can do some supplementing, but you still need to be doing foods that have high levels of potassium. And the number one most important thing you need to be thinking about is your water. Okay, it is going to be impossible for me to help you balance your minerals if your water source sucks. So you need to be thinking about that. You need to be testing your water. You need to be using a Berkey or a PureFX filter. If those aren't available to you, you need to be drinking spring bottled water. I did a post on Instagram about this, which brands are reputable, what you can trust, because most of the water is dead. Reverse osmosis is no good. So we need to be paying attention. We want a live water with minerals. There's also an awesome resource called findaspring.com where you can type in your location and see if there's a fresh spring near you where you can get water. That would be the best. So we want to have clean, mineral-rich water. Something you can do is if you get that spring bottled water, you can warm it up in the morning and add some sea salt to it. This will help with the minerals and help you first thing in the morning to kind of get rid of like the acidity and the stuff that's built up overnight. So you should be drinking half of your body weight in ounces of water, but if it's toxic water, it's not good. Half your body weight in clean mineral-rich water, and you should be adding 1/4 to ½ a teaspoon of unrefined sea salt per liter of water consumed. So you can start really slow with this. For some of you who are really dehydrated at a cellular level, this might feel awful when you start adding the salt, but you can know if you're peeing a lot, you're not getting the water into the cell. And if you're feeling thirsty all the time, even if you're drinking water, you've got issues going on at a cellular level with hydration. So start slow with the salt, start with a pinch because it can really make people feel crappy if they're really dehydrated. If you also experience some bloating at first, that is a sign that you're really dehydrated. Think of it like a sponge that's soaking up water when it's really dry, okay? So some things that are affected by slow or fast oxidation are your diet style. So the slow oxidizer, which is me, myself, and I can also mention that you can switch from a slow to fast at different points in your life. So I was naturally a fast when I went through the chronic stress of my divorces and abuse and things that I went through with that. I switched to a slow. I built the magnesium shell to protect myself, and I switched. So I can catch people sometimes in the middle of the switch or on one side or the other. But a slow oxidizer is going to do much better with a higher protein diet, with lean proteins. They're not going to do really well with fat. So not no fat, but 2 to 6 tablespoons of fat period per day. So a ketogenic diet is not going to work well for these people. Now there's always exceptions to the rule, but this is where we can't just be saying everybody should do keto. It's not going to go well for a slow oxidizer. They're going to feel like crap. So it's really important to get tested and figure out what is going on with you. A slow oxidizer is going to gravitate towards lots of starchy and complex carbohydrates. They're going to like the acorn squash. They're going to like the fingerling potatoes. They're going to like the plantain chips. All those things are high potassium foods that the body is craving. So pay attention to your cravings. Sometimes we give ourselves a hard time for it, but it really could be your body asking for what it needs minerally, okay? So I know for me, when I was really deep in the stage, I really just craved a lot of those root vegetables and those complex carbohydrates. High potassium foods. Those things are going to be things like coconut water, the potassium broth I mentioned that I share with my clients, other potassium foods, plantains, fingerling potatoes, etc. Celery juice can be really great for a slow oxidizer because it has high levels of sodium and potassium. So again, that doesn't work for everybody, because it's not going to be good for someone who has other excess of those things. They can have bad results with that. But for the slow oxidizers, which most of us are in that state, it does a great job. High sodium foods as well, and avoiding high calcium foods. So dairy is not going to be great. The fast oxidizer is going to be doing much better with higher fat. This person might do much better on a ketogenic diet. 5 to 10 tablespoons of fat per day, fattier cuts of meat, lower in carbohydrates, avoiding those fruits and simple sugars because of their blood sugar issues. They could actually probably do some raw dairy and get away with it, and also the high magnesium, those leafy greens foods. Also, something to pay attention to is kale. It holds a lot of thallium in it, so we don't want to be excessively juicing and doing things with kale. Even the organic kind can show high levels of those metals, which can affect the minerals. So do the other greens. They're much safer and better. I'm not saying you can't ever have kale, just don't go balls to the wall on the kale. So there are certain supplements I can kind of recommend for everybody that they should be doing when they're doing hair mineral analysis. I'm going to share 3 of them today. I'm not going to share all of them, but the 3 that I say are pretty good are Pectisol C, which is a binder. This is one of the only binders that binds to metals and not minerals. So this is great stuff. You have to take it on an empty stomach, away from any medications or other supplements, because it will bind to them, but it doesn't bind to minerals, so you can take it with food. You can take it around food or before food. I personally like to do it first thing in the morning in hot water, tea, or even some really good quality coffee. You could do this in. Now, for people with SIBO, it is a FODMAP, so it could kind of cause a reaction there, so you're gonna have to test it out. Also not to be used for pregnant or lactating women. This is another great supplement, Oceans Alive Phytoplankton. It's really powerful stuff. It's got every single mineral and trace element that we need. It's not going to overdo it. It's great for everybody. When you do take it, if you've got those high levels of calcium, those issues going on, you can almost sometimes feel the aches and pains as the calcium's moving back into your bones. So go slow if you're a slow oxidizer, especially if you have a calcium shell. But this is great for everybody. And then for the people who have slow oxidation rate, 40,000 volts is great. It's got high levels of sodium and potassium. This is something, if you're working and sweating a lot, is great. But I'd still say you need to get tested before using that one, because we need to see what's going on with you at that cellular level. So the things that slow oxidizers want to avoid are copper. So if you look at a lot of multivitamins and protein shakes, they've got everything in there. Everything in there, and some things you should not be taking. Copper's one of those things. You don't want to be taking that. The other thing is vitamin D. And the reason why is because supplemental vitamin D, first of all, it is a hormone. It interacts with our hormones. We need to be careful with it. But it actually lowers potassium. So if you already have low levels of potassium, it's not going to help you. We need to not be using supplemental vitamin D. I still think vitamin D is the best to get from the sun. If you want to get a vitamin D light, I can give you some indications on which ones you should get if you live on the East Coast or Canada. But supplementing with vitamin D, not a good idea, especially if you've not done your hair minerals test. Obviously, we don't want to do too much magnesium. They still need some because they're burning it. out of their body, but we don't want to overdose on the magnesium, unlike the fast oxidizer who needs a lot of it. And calcium, we don't want to be supplementing with that at all. So a lot of people just take generic calcium supplements and they don't know what they're doing and they don't know what it's doing in their body. So we need to be careful with that. The other thing slow oxidizers should avoid is zinc. And zinc is one of those things that will really lower sodium. And the thing is slow oxidizers may show high levels of zinc on their test, but it means that they're losing it a lot. And the answer is not to give them more zinc. The answer is also to help them balance in other minerals so that the zinc can be held in their body. And too much B2 supplements should not be used for slow oxidizers either. So the fast oxidizers should avoid potassium and high sodium foods because they already have enough of that. Again, I really need to see your test to know for sure. Vitamin A, not going to be a good thing for fast oxidizers. So that is cod liver oil. Any of that stuff they need to be avoiding. Vitamin E, B1, and B3 in high amounts, not good for fast oxidizers. Vitamin C in really high amounts. Now, again, I need to see everything else going on because vitamin C can still be beneficial, but we want to be sure that fast oxidizers aren't having too much of that. And again, the adrenal and thyroid glandulars aren't going to go well for them because they're already so stimulated in their thyroid and their adrenals. They don't need any help with that. And even my slow oxidizers who have issues with the thyroid and the adrenals, we can do other things to help minerally and that are much more effective than those stimulating adrenals. Glandulars, and adaptogens as well. Not going to be a good idea for fast oxidizers. So yeah, the lifestyle strategies for these people for slow are meditation, relaxation, getting some therapy, doing inner work, clearings with me, counseling, all that helps, and reducing their intense exercise because they really can't handle it right now. They need to be focusing on getting their sodium and potassium up, and they don't need to be doing any intense workouts. It's really, they might feel okay while they're doing it, but they're just going to feel like crap after because of their sodium and potassium levels. The fast oxidizers really just need to slow down, need to create boundaries, need to take time for themselves. Again, therapy and counseling and all the inner work is really helpful for them, getting meditation and doing some heart math, which can help them kind of slow down a bit. So this was a lot of information that I just threw at you. I'm hoping that you guys have some questions for me. I really think this is important. If you're interested in getting a hair minerals test with me, please reach out, direct message me, ask me how to do it and how to work with me so that you can feel awesome. Again, I said, if you're watching this, be generous, share, pass it on, like it, comment, because more people need to understand what is happening in their body at their mineral level and how it affects everything else. Now, I didn't go into everything else that like copper toxicity. I didn't go into really breaking up the calcium shell. I didn't go into the ratios or what to do with some people who have really difficult metabolisms, half fast, half slow, etc. Because I don't have time. I've already been doing this for 32 minutes. But I will share more about this with you if you work with me, and also I might do a minerals masterclass. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you understand the importance of this in the body. I didn't get into metals as much, but metals really can affect things. And I can see on your test what metals you're having a difficult time in being exposed to. We can find out what the sources of those are. There's resources for that to see, oh, this is why you have high levels of this. These might be some of the things you're exposed to. I'm going to talk for a second about, I've already talked about water and how important it is to have clean water, especially when it comes to metals, but also your cookware. Unfortunately, we've gotten a lot of misinformation on that. Even cast iron, unfortunately, is not the form of iron that is best used by the body. Now, women aren't as much of a risk of this toxicity because we have our periods and we get rid of our iron and we get rid of these levels in our body through our period, but men do not. So men using using cast iron pans all the time is a problem. So we want to look for more cookware. Titanium is the best. It's expensive, but stainless steel with a low nickel content. You can see how much nickel is used in it because the shinier it is, the more nickel it has. More of the newer companies are using a lot of nickel. And also think about your crock pots and your Instapots. They're very, very, very toxic. So VitaClay is a great company that has a really toxic-free slow cooker option. Clay, glass, all those things are better options for cooking with. So just think about that. And again, we can see on the test whether you've got high levels of aluminum, tin, uranium, mercury, you know, all these different things that can really be causing issues for you in your health. So I really encourage you to think about getting tested with me and seeing what's going on in your body at a cellular level, both for your minerals and for heavy metals. All right, that's a wrap. I'm heading out for the weekend with my boyfriend. We're getting out of Santa Barbara. I need a break, and I hope to see my inbox full of questions and comments and needing to get tested when I get home. So thanks for watching. I hope you have a fabulous Friday. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.